Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Is the last lap of the program, and we've been talking about diversifying the economy, looking at key drivers of the economy. Of course, both gentlemen who have had on the program in the last couple of minutes have been talking about the power sector, infrastructure, human capacity development, as well as legislations. Both gentlemen, that is Ayodeji Ebo, who is the head investment research at Afrinvest, and Edgar Ibinum, who is the head of research Carry Assets Management Limited, are both here with me in the studio. Thank you so much for sticking around. So Edgar, let's quickly continue with that conversation. Talking about the solid minerals industry, how can activities be stimulated? I know he mentioned a couple of them. We should ensure policies, we should ensure enabling environment as well. But what other things can stimulate this very critical sector at this time?
Yeah, the extractive industry as a whole, I think it depends because most of the participants are foreigners, so to speak, and the major determining factor for their entry into the economy depends on the legal institution, like you said, and that is why today the PIB, the Petroleum Industry Bill, is still a critical factor to the existence of the oil companies in Nigeria. They have been waiting for this. And I tell you, as soon as it is passed, amended or not amended, it gives a clearer direction as to what is obtainable in that sector. So as it is, going by what has been in existence, many investors might not be encouraged. So everyone in that sector is having their eyes on PIB being passed so that they will not know the next step to take. If it is favorable, if it is not favorable, then they will know what to do.
Will it be the same thing as well for the other minerals?
Definitely. You see, they're all extractive industry. So there's going to be more like a ripple effect. There's cross-selling. There's a whole of relationship existing there. So legal institution that protects investments of foreigners, is critical to their existence.
Okay, so let's now talk about agriculture, and I think that will probably be where we'll wrap it up. In a report from Afrinvest, Ayodeji, you say revenue will be tapped from agricultural sector by way of encouraging production of cash crops for export. Now, a couple of days ago, I actually had some guests on the program, and they complained that the reason why this might not just begin to happen just yet, even though it seems as if this is the best time for them to begin to export, is because they do not have proper storage and preservative facilities. So how is that going to work if we're expecting to see an encouraging, amount of export being done in cash production, cash crops, I beg your pardon?
Yes, that is the basic fact that the storage facility is the missing gap within the value chain, which we feel government needs to also channel efforts at trying to. I know there have been a lot of warehouses and silos that have been built across the country, but because of the deficit in the past years, they need to work at a faster rate, such that when you discover the loss from farm produce within around 50%, it was pegged around 50% of the farm produce are lost because they cannot preserve it. When you consider, based on exporting goods, it takes about 21 days to export, before you can export goods out of Nigeria based on the protocols and processes that needs to be followed. When you look at if these cash crops cannot be properly preserved, so before it gets outside the borders of Nigeria, then the quality would have reduced significantly, and the prices at which they will sell this product would now be at significant discount, so that at the end.
That's for fresh produce.
For fresh.
Yeah. So for what about for if you can't export them fresh? Why don't you can or tin it or box it, as the case may be, dry it in such a way that it can stay for a longer time and you can export it to further countries?
Yes, that brings us to the manufacturing sector. It's because the agriculture is like serves as significant input to the manufacturing sector. Processing plants are, you discover that we produce significantly tomatoes, but we import the tomato paste. So when you try to match that, it's worrisome, so that it just takes effort. If government decides that they want to build the plants, they just need to come up, the stakeholders that may be involved in that particular in the processes just needs to be brought together to explain how it's going to work.
Okay.
And if that can be done, it will, one, reduce even the pressure on the forex that we have been seeing, the demand for dollar that we have been seeing. So agriculture, another thing that I feel I would like to highlight is the crop yield is still relatively very low. When you look at the rate of application of fertilizer, based on statistics, Nigeria still applies about just 6 kg per hectare, compared to China, which applies about 550 kg, Ghana 18 kg per hectare. So when you consider the yield that will come out from some of these products, it's really very small, such that when you consider the price that the revenue that you earn from it, it doesn't justify the effort of going into agriculture.
So, on a closing note, Edgar, what sectors do you think should be focused on at this time? We need to start to prioritize. All sectors can't, be taking the front burner at the same time. One has to be prioritized. And from what Ayodeji has said, it seems agriculture. Of course, that's what we know that the federal government has really been pushing for in the last couple of years. Agriculture needs to take that pride of place again for us to begin to, earn dollars in terms of exports.
I want to also at this particular point commend the federal government, because I know that there have been significant improvement, when it comes to rice production in Nigeria. I think a whole lot of capacities have been built in that regards, and I think if they can go further, to streamline that sector, that particular segment, improve on rice production, because I can tell you that Nigeria imports a whole lot on that, and it's a staple food. It affects us a lot. I don't know if I should go a bit away from agriculture, because I know one critical challenge we are having, just like I said, if Nigeria is importing 220-something billion of petroleum refined product into the country in just one quarter, when we have installed capacities of refineries that can refine more than what we consume, I think if we can do a turnaround, maintenance of these refineries, that will save a whole lot of money, because everything we are talking about now is focusing on generating income, because our major source of income is dwindling, is having issues. So I keep wondering what stops us from turning around these refineries to produce and refine what we can use locally. If that can be done, that particular portion of import, that particular portion of dollar that we are spending importing refined products, we give them crude oil, they refine and sell back to us, and we're spending a whole lot on that. If it can be done, that amount is being, will be channeled back to other productive sectors. We're talking about building infrastructure. So, gross it down, 200 and something billion. I tell you, I think in 2013, I'm not very sure, it was over $1 trillion that was spent importing petroleum, motor spirit into the country.
Well, those figures and numbers will keep rattling in our heads as we end this conversation. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Edgar Ebo, yes, Head of Research, Carry Assets Management Limited. It was a pleasure having you on the program. Ayodeji Ebo,
Head
of Research Investment, Afrinvest. Thank you so much also for coming on the program. That's it on today's edition. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Harriet Agminyi. Bye-bye.